Welcome back to Life Unfiltered. There's a lot of newness today. We are filming in New York, not Los Angeles. Super exciting, new energy, new guest. Please pardon my voice. If you follow my stories closely, you know I've come down with something, but we're on the tail end. We're feeling okay. I'm okay, just my voice is a little raspy. And let's get right to it. Today's episode features Shira Charles. Shira is a hands-on entrepreneur who's building a software solution to tackle recurring challenges in value-add real estate. Starting her journey as a single mother without a high school diploma or a college degree, Shira explored various paths before discovering her passion for problem solving. After years in corporate healthcare and launching an interior design firm specializing in multifamily projects, she identified a pattern of issues her clients faced and developed a software tool to help investors make faster, data-backed decisions. Today, Shira balances growing her software company, raising a high school senior, sharing resources for aspiring interior designers, and searching for her life partner. To find out more about Shira, visit shiracharles.com. Today's episode is sponsored by the LA Facialist, my dear friend and phenomenal esthetician, Candace, who, in particular, the CO2 mask, which I woke up looking like death warmed over, and put on my CO2 mask. It completely transformed my face. At thelafacialist.com, you could find not just my favorite products, but a wide range of everything you could possibly need for beauty, face, skin. It is my one-stop shop. It's my go-to. And if you're in LA, you must see the LA Facialist for a facial. Enjoy. The mics are good. We're test. We're good? Okay.
Testing. 1, 2, 3. Hatitude is back with some reality. Do you know that?
I love that.
You don't know Black Hatitude?
How do you do, what is it? How do you, what?
Oh, gosh. Classic example of a shit date. I'm going to turn you on to that.
It's like a TikTok thing?
No! This is like old school Jewish rap.
Oh, my God.
Yeah,
Do you know
the
Schlock
Yeshiva boys.
Rock?
I know Schlock Rock. Yeah, this is different. And these guys never really went out with it. They came out with
Okay.
like one thing. It's fine. I know one of the guys, and he still records some stuff, but
That's
never
adorable.
releases it. He's so talented.
There's
though.
a real
It's crazy.
scene now. You know?
Yeah. These guys are like old rabbis now, so.
Welcome in, Shira Charles.
I am so excited and honored to be here.
You were the only possible guest for my first try in New York because I was so anxious, and you know how I always have to be in control of everything at all times.
Yes, and I'm such a calm person, so naturally you chose me.
That was exactly why I chose you. So I was like, I can't deal with too many new elements and a guest who's nervous too.
Yeah.
So you were an obvious choice because you're calm, cool disposition. You're a roll with the punches kind of girl.
I am a roll with the punches kind of girl, yes.
Tell me, where do you come from? Where'd you grow up? Tell me a little about your early days.
So my early days were kind of scattered all over the place. I have a colorful background.
Okay.
I was born in Israel and then pretty much grew up on 3 different continents, mostly the U.S., but Israel, U.S., Kenya for a stint.
Kenya?
Kenya.
What brought you to Kenya?
My father was the chief rabbi of Nairobi.
Oh my, and you're heading back to
I
Africa soon?
am working on it. Yes, I am fundraising for the next step or the next ride. And they support amputees in Israel.
I love that cause. Shout out to our boy David. And I will put your fundraising link in the notes if anyone wants to contribute because it's a really beautiful cause.
It really is. It really is.
So, my God, Israel, America, Nairobi, and moving around a lot.
Moving around a lot, yes.
And family, like big, small?
Small. I have 2 siblings, sisters, twins. Love them. And my father passed away like 16 years ago now.
Did I know you had twins in your family?
Probably, honestly. But that's okay.
I'm always jealous of people that have twins in their family. I feel like that's like such a flex. Or to be a twin.
You'd have to ask them. I don't know that it's always so fun, but they're super different, so it's really interesting. All 3 of us are super different.
What is it like growing up with twin siblings? Like, do they get all the attention?
Well, I'm significantly older than them, so it was super exciting for me because I was an only child for a long time, so having 2 come along after 8.5 years of it just being me was really exciting. Yes, they got all the attention, but I loved it. I mean, they were the yummiest things.
Yeah. So. There's 8 years between Yaakov and Lila. So
Right.
it's a big gap.
Yeah.
It's like having two families in a way.
It is a big gap. I think like most of age gap things, as you get older, it's not really, like we're in similar brackets of life and similar interests and intellectual levels or whatever. So it doesn't feel like it sometimes. As a matter of fact, both of them sometimes seem more advanced, more mature, and smarter than me. So I forget now.
I seriously doubt that. I seriously doubt that. But maybe, I often think my younger sister is much wiser and, more knowing than me. So
It happens.
you're like a multi-hyphenate of multi-hyphenates. You do 8,000 things. Like, even since I've known you, I've known you through so many iterations. You're good at all of them. You helped me on with a project.
Oh, that's right. I forgot about that, actually.
I know. An investor in a restaurant in Long Island. A lot of people, no one knows that. They just found out.
Yeah.
You were so helpful with designing it, the design process. It's still one of the coolest bathrooms I think I've ever seen.
That was fun.
But even that was how I met you. But even since then, you've gone on to take on so many other projects, so many other roles, so many other ideas. So I guess this is like almost a 3-part question.
Okay.
What's the importance, do you think, in like today's society of being a multi-hyphenate? Like, gone are the days where we do one thing. It's like 1. 2, how do you develop a muscle for being an ideas machine? Like, because to be a multi-hyphenate, you have to have a lot of ideas. You have to have a wide range. How do you develop that muscle to become a multi-hyphenate who's good at all the things?
Oh, gosh. Okay. Well, first of all, just to make sure I'm paying attention, that was 2 things, right?
Yeah.
Was there a third? And you could save me from the third so far because
I had 3
I'm
on here.
Struggle here.
One of the things was in maybe,
no.
maybe it was part of the
Yeah.
How do ideas come to you?
Okay. The muscle, how do the ideas come to me? I'm not going to answer in the order you said. I'm just going to talk based on what I heard, which is...
Do you want to put down your coffee? I'm stressed for you. You want
to
hold it?
Yeah.
Stress coffee. I like comfort coffee?
So I have raging ADHD, and often holding things helps me from like fidgeting with myself.
Got it. I'm worried about the noise though.
Oh,
because sometimes the mics pick it up.
Okay. I should have brought. No, actually, the rocks would make more noise. I generally have a fidget.
I wonder if I have something for you to fidget.
It's okay. We're gonna be fine. Okay. We're gonna be okay. So,
is ADHD part of it?
100% part of it. The leading factor. Responsible party. There's a lot of things behind this, so I'll try to unpack it, but. Number 1, I want to just mention the fact that for myself, more than anybody, this is a blessing and a curse. It is something that I need to constantly be able to keep a clear focus on what I want in my life, why I do things, and make sure that when I'm doing things, I'm doing them for the right reasons, at the right time, and not get lost in them. And for so many reasons that I'll probably get into, that is a real risk for me. And burnout is a constant risk for me. Also, ironically, I have, a side to myself that is a very core foundational side to myself that craves simplicity and just less and not doing these things. At my core, I want to be on a little farm with a white picket fence and baking and doing my art. Don't get me started on that. But that, that kind of thing. And just being a mom and just enjoying, the sounds of the birds and that kind of thing. And then there's this other side of me that probably can never stop. I have always been a dreamer, but like a daydreamer, like a ditzy, awkward from a very young age. I, as an only child for a long time, would entertain myself, I swear to God, by playing outside with scissors, cutting the lawn. And I loved it. And I would play in the bushes and, I had all of these fairy tale things going on and dreams, and I was saving the world. I was that 6-year-old. So I've always been a little kooky. And then, in school was not for me. Lord have mercy. It was not for me. They did not think I had ADHD at the time. They didn't understand what it was like for girls. it just was who I was. It's not really something that I developed because I wanted to. It was something that I've had to learn how to hone, how to make a superpower, and how to meet if I wanted to meet.
Right.
So,
harnessing ADHD is a huge task.
yes.
I mean, when you were describing your childhood, I'm like, wait, that's me. I have
Really?
but I know I have ADHD.
Okay.
Yours, I would say, yours presents a little differently to mine, but I resonate with a lot of what you're saying, and maybe a lot of people listening will too. How do you harness that?
Well, you have to know why you want to, right? You have to know what you're harnessing it for. So the clearer I got on the picture of like my future self, and I'm going to give a lot of credit to getting that clarity to Charlie Harari's book, Unlocking Greatness. There's an exercise in there that I did years ago, and you sit down and you have to write as if you're narrating a story in epic detail, 24 hours of a day in your future. And it is ridiculously telling. It surprised me. And he talks about it. He's like, you're going to think that you're going to go in and write one thing. And as you're writing, you're going to write a story you never heard or thought you would tell. And that was what happened. It was super telling.
What did you write?
I just wrote like a regular day, but it was at a time where I didn't think I believed in marriage or wanted to get remarried. I didn't think I wanted more kids. And here I was married. I had twins. And, I was a boss. I had a company, but the person I was in it, this was the most telling thing for me, was a much calmer, softer version of myself. And it was through that process that I really went into some deep self-discovery and understood why I am the way I am certain times and what I wanted in my future. And I had, again, in this story that I was writing, I had photos on the wall of so much travel that my husband and I did alone and then with the kids. And there were so many little things. I was wearing silk pajamas. This was at a time where I was still wearing my ripped PJs from high school because they're comfortable.
I wear that.
So I used to. And an old friend from high school, Alyssa, used to talk a lot about how she absolutely only wears little silk pieces and for herself because she wants to own that femininity. So it's not like a sexual thing. It's a personal identity thing.
I see people that do that and I'm so jealous of them. Like I see them wear really cute pajamas.
I mean, didn't you just post about a really cute set?
They're soft.
Okay. but they're still, it's more about a certain way of presenting yourself at all times. Yes,
even at
just
nighttime.
Elevating yourself. Yeah, it's not.
I've seen you go through this softening.
I'm still working on it.
Yeah.
I have a lot of default personality traits that have served a purpose in my life. I understand why they're there. I'm not friends with all of them.
Don't think the hard... after you get divorced, there's a hardness, a shell that grows, I think, that you need to grow.
Yeah. I mean, anything difficult, and it's not unique to me that I've been through difficult things in my life. I'm blessed in so many ways, and I've had many events in my life that have forced me to harden, forced me to become, more independent. And just to bring it back to your original question, I'm not going to use the word forced because it's too forceful here, but have guided me to fine-tuning my ADHD and using it and developing a deeper understanding of who I am, what I want, and what kinds of passions and projects and potential I wanted. So I used this whole process to identify that I had a glass ceiling, understand the history of where it came from, why it was there, understand and learn something I had no idea, which was I can break it. So I didn't know it was there. Then I learned that I could break it. And then I learned to see what was past it and start choosing for myself. What do I want? What do I want in my life? And realize I can have and do anything. But I have to make sure that I really want to. So the hard things got you there. Would I choose it that way? I don't know. Maybe not. Ignorance is super bliss. the people who don't have to go through these processes and don't have to meet huge potential, they're happy.
Yeah.
So, you know.
They do seem happy. But sometimes lacking the layers, you know? Are you self-critical?
Uh-huh.
You have a mean voice?
Oh, yeah.
What does it sound like?
Really, Shira? That's probably what it usually is. It depends. And it's also something that I've been putting a lot of work into. So it has lost a lot of its power. But yeah, it's still there. We fight sometimes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mine's horrible. And I always ask people this because I want to know like what their tips and tricks are, because like that's one of the things that stops me from like finding my glass ceiling and breaking through it or doing some of the things I want to do. That's one of the things I admire about you, is that you do not let the critical voice stop you from the things that you're wanting to do, that you know that you're meant to do, even if you've had to switch gears drastically, right? Sometimes even just switching gears, that mean voice is like, really, again, another idea, another, oh, you
Who
do
do you
that?
think you are?
Who do you think you are?
Yeah. Yeah.
So
look, I'm going to interject here because you, and we've discussed this, you have played a big part in a lot of the permission I've given myself to just be. You know, when I started watching some of your stories or videos and getting to know you, you have that personality where you decide to do things because that's what you want to do, and you seemingly cut out the noise and just unapologetically focus on these things and just be these things. And
don't cut out the noise.
Well, that's why I said seemingly. It appears that you effortlessly do that. And years ago when we first started connecting, you did a branding session with me, I think it was, for my design business. And I don't know if you remember, but like my energy was so different then. I had not unlocked yet. I was like at the cusp of unlocking, and right around then was when I realized, like, yeah, I can do anything I want to. I can be feminine if I want to. It's just a decision. It's just like, and that was kind of how you were presenting it, even if you weren't saying it straight out. And I walked away from that like, so if I want to, I will. Like, that's it, you know? And I mentioned that this morning, how I took inspiration because I wanted to wear these sparkly shoes with the, you know, rough jeans look. And I was like, had that voice in my head. I'm like, why? Like, I am not going to a meeting after this. It's cold outside, way too cold for bare feet. And then I thought about the outfit you wore with the hat and how we had a little conversation around that. And you were like, you know,
wait, what hat? What?
Oh, what was it? Your birthday party or something? You were wearing like maybe a blue dress and like a hat, and you had an outside party, and it was just this whole vibe. And you said even
like
some family members, maybe that's what it was.
By
like
Lila's
an
bat
after,
mitzvah.
like the next day party or
Everyone
something
wasn't
like
casual.
that.
Everyone was casual.
Yeah. And you said some people made fun of you, like in a, you know, hopefully loving way, and you were just like, I want to wear it, so I am. And that was what I loved taking from you and took then. It's such an important piece, and it's something that, for whatever reason, you know, some people have an easier time with it, especially when it comes to appearance things. For me, it's taken me much longer to give myself that permission of like, I just because I want to, because I like it. Like, that's the beginning, middle, and end of that conversation.
Yeah.
And
it doesn't need another reason.
Yeah. So I'm learning.
Girl, I'm loving the sparkly shoes. Can we see them? Yeah, you can see them. Okay, good. I love that.
It's the little things.
I really hope I don't irritate everyone with my throat clearing in this episode.
We'll be fine.
So we're both married young. Seemingly no options, no degrees, no college. You didn't even graduate high school.
I did not even graduate high school. No.
It's in the bio. But why do you think, and I hate to use the word like made it, because everybody's made it. If you're alive on the planet, right, you've made it. But like, what do you think, like, all the odds are stacked against someone in today's society without a college degree, without a high school degree. Do you think people must and have to go to college? Do you think it's a different time now? I always have this conversation with my head about my kids because we didn't go to school. Look at us, like we do and I. But like, do you think that it's a different world? You have to get a degree now? And two, like, what do you think is just like the difference between doing, like, you don't have any of the formal education, none of the background, none of the structure, none of the foundation. And yet, look at you now. We're going to talk about some of the projects you're doing. They're big. I wouldn't even know how to do those things.
Yeah. So I am pretty darn passionate about not needing a degree to do things. And again, there is a huge difference, and I talk a lot about this on TikTok because I get a lot of people pushing back. When I say that I don't believe a college degree is necessary for most career paths, if you're going to go into brain surgery, please get a degree.
Right.
But that is not me saying education is not important. And my answer to that question is, in 2024, going into 2025, education is everywhere. It's everywhere in that people are making it available online, so you can learn anything on YouTube. There, LinkedIn Learning. There's so many smaller hubs of education for niche-specific, career-specific that are, to say a fraction of the cost of college is the understatement of a century. You have to remember that college is a business, and it's one of the biggest scamming businesses out there. So educate, but also in today's day and age, the ability, because of social media. So people have a love-hate relationship with social media. I have a love-hate relationship with social media. But the ability to learn from people by being able to have access to their orbit just because they are on social media talking about things. Do you understand that people are out there talking about what they do for real estate investment, finances, architecture, design, whatever it is? Yeah. To the point where they could be charging thousands of dollars in consulting fees for the information they're putting out there, and it's there for free. So, yeah, I think that it's ironic because it's taking it back to like old school times when people would apprentice for a career path, for a trade that they wanted to learn, and they would learn directly from the professional. And I think that's coming back a lot, but just with, a modern twist to it. I think that is so much more valuable in the right circumstances, but you have to know the things that you're interested in. And I don't know that we focus on that enough in elementary school, middle school, and high school. And it's definitely something I'm very passionate about.
What, like helping people sort of identify?
Yeah, it's learning at any stage of life that anything is a possibility for you, and giving yourself the permission to pursue those kinds of interests, again, at any stage. Understanding that there are tools and paths to get there, and there is no one right path. We are not living in a time anymore where you have to do things a certain way and you have to climb a ladder a certain way. No, you don't. You have to have balls. 100%. You just have to have balls. Like, you won't get what you don't ask for. So giving our kids that education earlier is so important. I get middle schoolers and high schoolers reaching out to me on TikTok mostly, because that's where I'm at, asking me what they can do now to start their career. So I am telling teenagers which programs in interior design to start learning, because by the time they get out of high school, if they're excellent at a program, they've just unlocked doors for themselves. They can start building their portfolio. Who needs college when you can start getting paid right out of high school doing what you love? And then maybe they'll discover it's not for them. Amazing. Right. I just saved your parents so much money.
$100,000.
Yeah. Or your student loans, or I saved you 4 years of time. It's not specific. I mean, I'm catering specifically to those who want to be, designers, get into that world, but it's really a much broader message.
I have such a interesting relationship with college and university now. So my mom was Harvard educated and told me not to go to college.
Oh, wow.
When I said, because I was like you, couldn't get through school, could not do it. And everybody was on that path, or a lot of people. And she said, don't do it. She said, you have the gift of gab. You're a natural networker. She
true.
also said, you're beautiful, which, by the way, women do not lean on beautiful to not get educated. But she's like, more than that, you're a networker.
Yeah.
So I didn't go. I skipped it. Then next generation, my son did not want to go. He was supposed to go.
But if I remember, you still had that pushback feeling, right?
I was so upset. He's like, Mama, it's not for me. I can't do it.
Why do you think you were upset? Because I was going through something similar with my daughter, which is ironic, and I've had to process that. So why were you upset?
Your daughter doesn't either want to go to college.
She's been going back and forth,
Yeah.
and it's still a conversation, but I have like a panic that comes up for me.
Me too.
So what is that?
Because the world feels different now. The world that I just turned 40. How old are you?
37.
Okay. Even 20 years ago was a different world. I feel as though in some ways you need an education now. Like nobody will even look at your resume. But that's assuming you need a resume.
So it depends. There are still places out there where there is that's how it is mentality.
Yep.
But that's not the broader picture of availability, and certainly not for business, which I think was what your son wanted to get into.
But
right?
now, business. Yeah. I'm going to flash forward to what he's doing now.
Okay.
There's a third element of the university thing now that we're all experiencing, which is that universities are not necessarily safe for all students.
Yeah.
So now I have a whole new view.
Right.
Like it's been tainted. The wool's been lifted, right? Like we see things we didn't see before. Not to say all universities, but fast forward, my son's, he's going to SMC online. He's doing an online school, but he's working full time. That's his priority. For sure, work is his priority.
Good for
he
him.
just signed his first deal. He's going to make a mega in commercial real estate. Increased his companies, increased their profit probably by 30%. Or
holy crap,
huge.
man!
He brought in a whale.
Oh my gosh!
And it makes
way
me
to start his career.
And I think to myself, what if I had forced him? What if I had forced him to go?
Parenting is really hard. We have the best of intentions. It's really scary. You can make the wrong move so easily.
Yeah. And the path of least resistance, right? Like
That's what I was going to get to. Yeah.
The path of, is that what you were thinking about your daughter?
You know, ultimately, I think the path that I've had to take is going to make me the kind of person that can keep making the moves that I'm making. And there's a reason that I have aged so significantly this year, like physical aging signs and stress levels. And I don't want my daughter to have a harder path. So, that's been a challenge for me. Like, I know that she has so many qualities going for her. She's so smart. She is so personable, fantastic networker, negotiator, all the things. There's so many career paths that she can take that she doesn't need a degree if that's ultimately how she chooses to go. As a protective mama bear, I'm like, okay, but like a degree could have something to fall back on. But when I really, really dive into it, I think it's messaging from my childhood, which was not wrong messaging, right? My mother was so adamant, didn't listen clearly, that I get a degree and have a career to fall back on, because she also found herself divorced and needing to support herself, and she didn't want me in that position, and she wasn't wrong, right? I found myself divorced, young mom at the age of like 23 or something, zero concept of money, I'm not exaggerating, zero concept of money.
Same.
And I had to like figure it out the hard way. It was exploration, but it was very stressful, very scary, very uncomfortable. So I don't want my daughter in that position. And I have faith in her that she's an achiever, and hopefully I'm leading by example enough that by the time anything would come about for her, she would understand options are what you ask for. Options are what you go for. When we take a, bird's eye view look at the world and opportunities, and if you even just think about the number of careers that are out there, like we think of a few generic ones, but the amount of things that people can do to turn an interest into money, and that's just that. It's pretty limitless.
And there's no time ever in history more than today.
Yeah, it's so accessible. So many, yeah. So as an ex of mine taught me, it's a game. It's a money game. There's money everywhere. It's just a game about how you're going to find it. You think of it like a board game. It's really what it is. That's an oversimplified explanation of it. It's very stressful, but that doesn't mean you shouldn't do something because you think you don't have options.
My friend describes it like that. My friend Jessica, she's like, there's money everywhere. You just have to go get it. You have to go grab it. It's like available to everyone.
Exactly.
You
and
just
if
have
you
to
haven't
go grab
gotten it, then you haven't picked the right move yet. So keep going.
100%.
Yeah.
That's an interesting perspective. Like, if you haven't gone, you haven't picked the right move.
Yeah. So like, okay,
Pivot,
try again.
pivot.
Next one. That was the wrong answer. Next.
I love that. So, your latest venture, I want to learn about it. You told me, I got to admit, it sounds complex. Dumb it down for us. What are you working on?
So I have launched a software. I'm in beta. It is a SaaS, which is a software as a service. And I'll give you the technical terminology first. It is a feasibility estimator for value add real estate due diligence. It's a prop tech, so property technology.
You won't be quizzed on this.
What that actually means is it's basically a tool for individuals or groups and companies that invest in properties that exist, and they are going to upgrade them and add value to them. So they increase their rent or the property value. And these individuals have many potential investments that they need to vet through every week. And, the process of initial interest in a property all the way down to we bought the property, now we need to make moves on the property, has a lot of gray area. And as a lot of my old clients from my design firm, because I was designing for a lot of these investors, attested to, they use back of napkin calculations. So I came up with a solution and created a software, a beta version of the software, where it does the estimation process for you.
So it does all the math.
It does all the math, the projections, and it's from a design, construction, marketing,
Taxes,
competition,
expenses, construction.
Yeah.
Everything.
Timeline, possible increased rent. Yeah.
Dang. Is it AI?
It is AI. Yeah. The beta, less so. The full software is almost entirely AI integrated, driven. Yeah.
What was this from your experience in doing design
Yes.
for? So,
Yes.
like, how did it come about? Like,
So I would have pretty much all of my multifamily investor clients come to me with budgets that didn't necessarily make sense or weren't fully formulated. And keep in mind, when they're coming with these budgets, this is not usually money from their pockets, and they're like, I think I'll spend this. They have investors behind them that they've made promises to for return on investment, ROI. They have banks that have lent them money, CapEx money, which is capital expense lending, and they need to apply those funds in very specific ways, and they need to be able to hit the growth metrics on that property in order to be successful. So when they're coming to me with like vague budget numbers and they're not sure what's being applied to the design part of things that they're hiring me for, it's very hard to go through that process. It's very hard to know what the value add turnaround is going to be in terms of return on investment. And there were some calculations that I would see that were like, how the heck did you get to that number? And the example I give, and it's a real example, one of the budgets had allocated $18,000 to paint the exterior of 16 buildings. You don't have to be in my line of work or good at math, which I am not, to know that doesn't math. Like, what?
Meaning it's way too low?
Ridiculously low. Yeah.
How much does it cost to paint 18?
So that's the thing. There's so
even
many
just one
factors
home
that go
is
into it.
Hugely expensive.
Right. And then you have to think of many factors: the weather,
right,
the location, so the labor and material costs in that area.
Right.
What is the
how
facade
high
of
are
that
the building?
Right. How many floors is the building?
Intricate facade work, simple facade work.
Exactly. There's so many factors to it. So it's like, what? So this takes the guesswork out of it. Yeah.
This seems like hugely necessary.
It is hugely necessary. Yeah, it's exciting. And I'm just going to preface it with saying, like, it sounds really good and really big, and it is. And all the milestones are being hit. It's one of the hardest things I've ever done. I go through a roller coaster of emotions every day. Everything takes longer than you think it'll take. Raising capital right now, because I'm in a pre-seed round for investment. Investing money before you have revenue, so it's called pre-rev, is extremely difficult. While I've accomplished a lot over the years, I've never started a software company. I don't have a big exit, which is what they say when you've sold a company for a lot of money, behind me, so I don't have that experience. So getting people to invest it's challenging. It's also challenging market time.
The Foster sisters do this. And I think specifically with women, entrepreneurs. You know, Sarah and
No.
Erin Foster, they wrote the show Nobody Wants This.
Oh, Erin Foster. Why do I know that name?
They wrote, did you watch Nobody Wants This? Nobody Wants This on Netflix?
No.
The rabbi is dating the non-Jewish girl. What? It's a cultural phenomenon.
So here's the thing. I end up watching tiny clips of things on TikTok, and it's like satisfying enough. I'm like, okay, I know what happened. I don't watch
That's
the
the
rest
ADHD girl.
But
Okay, anyway,
it saves me from wasting time. You used to yell at me for going down the TikTok rabbit hole. Do you understand how much time it saved me?
I still don't have TikTok
Mondays.
because I'm scared of the rabbit hole.
Well, you don't understand how valuable it is then.
That's what we might just skip ahead and to talk about that because I wanted to talk about like which avenues you use for marketing. Okay. But anyway, just real quick, Erin and Sarah do this for a living. Mm-hmm. They meet with like female entrepreneurs and they give them seed money. So, and they always say like, if you're interested, apply. I'll get you the information for where to apply.
Please do, absolutely.
Yeah, they seem to really like to give women. You're a big fan of TikTok.
I am.
Big proponent of TikTok. Big cheerleader for TikTok.
I am.
Firstly, what do you think is going to happen with TikTok? There's so many rumors.
I'm actually a little nervous because I have a nice following growing there, and I'm able to help so many people, access so many people. If it does turn around and become problematic, I don't know. Instagram is so different. The nature of it is different. You know, you have like 26,500 followers. Yeah. Your relationship and your interactions with your followers are so different than the way TikTok works. Also, the videos there are the ability, as far as I know, they're much shorter.
Yeah.
The TikTok videos I'm giving are micro courses, right? So you have videos on there that are like 3 to sometimes 8 minutes long because I'm giving a micro course in interior design. I can't put that on Instagram.
But that surprises me because initially TikTok started as the short form of everything.
It did, and it has changed so significantly into an education platform, a news and education platform. They promote longer videos more, so it happens to work well for what I'm doing. And that's also why it's something that I have found to be so valuable. And again, I want to preface this with saying anything used improperly and uncensored to the wrong audience is problematic and dangerous, right? Like I've got very mixed feelings about my daughter being on there, although I am super proud to say that she has such a great head on her shoulders. She's actually removing herself from social media right now because she doesn't think it's good for her. But
my son did the same thing.
Yeah.
Maybe they need to meet.
Maybe. When used properly, TikTok has educated me as a business person, as a mother, as a cook, so much. It also has given me an outlet of like, when I have a long day and can I curse on here?
Yeah.
I am fucking wiped.
Yeah.
I don't have the energy for a movie. I don't have an energy for a social outing. You know what I have the energy for? Funny animal videos or cute babies, right?
I watch that on Instagram.
Yeah, so you guys on Instagram are getting it after. We get the originals,
it's true.
And then they go push it to Instagram.
We are getting
which is fine. So I don't know what I'll do if TikTok has to leave. I really don't.
Is that where you do like most of your promoting and your...
So for the software, I'm really the only place I talk about it right now is on LinkedIn, and you know, because it's a B2B thing, which TikTok has a place for it, but I'm not there yet. I'm also limited in time and energy. But my TikTok account is for where I give like my degreeless design classes, or train your eye exercises, all under the same umbrella.
Talk a little bit about because this is a really cool thing that you do, that you offer. I know a lot of women and my audience would be interested. Talk a little bit about this program that you do.
So it started kind of from not really a selfish place, but nurturing my young self, because when I got into this, I didn't think I was capable of anything. I didn't think I was very smart. I had come out of like corporate healthcare, so I'd built up a little bit, but I didn't know interior design was a career until 6 months before I started my firm. So I'm so passionate about helping people access their interests at any point, and I chose to funnel it right now into interior design because that is, where I have a plethora of experience, and I think there's a need. I think there's a lot of unknowns in this area. People don't realize like just how accessible it is to them if that's what they want to do. There's so many different areas of design to be in. I also know, as somebody who has employed degreed, certified designers, there's so much that is not taught in college that you can only learn with a designer, with an apprenticeship or an internship. And I'm kind of giving this virtual internship and classes. I have some digital products too that are related to it for like anybody who wants a deeper dive. I actually hate talking about things in advance, but also I am writing a book, Degreeless Design, and should have that out in the next 6 months, which is an accumulation of everything, like the courses, whatever. You know what's interesting, and I actually do, but I want to bring up something because I want to dispel a really common perception of a standard. A lot of people think that in order, and when I say I am successful, I mean that I have succeeded in growing to points as I've wanted to grow to them, and I continue to pursue that. I am in no way where I want to be compared to other people, which we should never be doing. I am nowhere. But if you take me 10 years ago to me now, I am successful, right?
Yep.
So people think that it takes ungodly amounts of hours and ridiculous levels of discipline. It does take discipline, and certain standards of how you have to do things. And we talked about the degree part of it, but along with my ADHD, I suffer from extreme fatigue. I have strong morning hours. I eat lunch, and I'm lucky if I get another hour or 2 out of my day.
Interesting.
So,
are you up early?
Sometimes. Not crazy early.
Okay.
I go through bouts. I try to find the right balance that works for me. I have a lot of health struggles that I've been working on also. My mental capacity is not available to me all day in that way. It truly isn't. And I have stopped beating myself up about it and realized that I will just, it's the same thing with the ADHD. Like you learn what works for you and tell everyone else and every other thought to shut up, because you will be successful when you lean into what works for you, whether it's dieting, parenting, relationships, discipline. It doesn't matter. You have to just learn yourself, right? I am fully confident that I will meet my goals. Will some of them take longer because I don't work until 12 o'clock at night? Maybe, but I'll meet those goals and I'll be my better version of myself in the process. So to answer your question, do you sleep and you're doing so much? I do bits and pieces when I can. I have learned to be a lot kinder to myself and my goals and deadlines. I've learned to be a lot more realistic. I'm continuing to learn that balance. But you don't have to be insanely overachieving to do things. You have to be clear on what you want, learn when and how to put the best time and best focus into things, and then learn to just be you. Take care of yourself. You are such a good advocate for that. And again, have taught me so much in that area. And that's when you'll succeed.
And I'm sitting here thinking I need to be like, I have so many, this is one of the things that I really admire about you. Like, she says she's going to do it. She goes and does it. Sometimes it's complicated. Seems like way out of the, I feel like I procrastinate a little bit. A lot of the success quote that I've achieved online is because I'm absolutely procrastinating doing the shit I'm supposed to be doing. Like I'm trying to do this coffee table book about the home.
Yes.
All this stuff I want to do.
I remember you talking to me about that,
I procrastinate obsessively, which is why I've cultivated an audience online. Basically, everybody's just a front row seat to watching me procrastinate.
Because you have such a fun personality, because you make things relatable, because you make things inspiring.
But I constantly have this guilt that I'm not working enough.
Is it possible that it's just a clarity thing?
Say more.
You asked me how I fine-tune the muscle of working on so many things. I have guilt on certain things that I haven't worked on, but then when I really slow everything down and get clear and focus on my bigger picture why and who I want to be and what I want to be doing, I realize that some of the things I do want, but I don't want or need them right now because these things are more important. And when I release myself from that and then come back to it when it is time, and my art is actually a really great example of that.
Oh yeah, she's also an artist. A really good one, not like one of those ones who it's a side thing. Like your art's phenomenal.
Thank you.
I dream of having one of your pieces in my home.
Thank you. It's actually on my way here, I just spoke to an art gallery that I'm going to be having a month featured by.
Oh my God.
Their whole place. Yeah, it's a coffee shop art gallery.
Okay.
Then this is just an example of how,
trying to
why?
make everyone feel like
I just
shit.
no, because I just walked in and asked, like, and I've done that to other places and it hasn't aligned, and the answer's been no. I'm like, okay, so I'm moving on. But I saw this place and I walked in and I'm like, this looks cool. Turns out we seem to be aligned, and again, it's not totally finalized. Maybe something will come up. Okay,
So
but
you're
I'm just
saying, like,
living in
maybe
that
I'm
place.
I'm not sure about the things that
Maybe you're figuring out what your now and your near future needs to be. And maybe this is something that you absolutely want to do, but maybe there's a part of you that's not ready to do it for whatever the reasons are. And the more you force yourself to do something when you're not ready to do it, and by the way, I apply this to my to-do list every day. When I hit a point where I'm like, I've read the same sentence 8 times, I can't focus right now, I have learned to not force myself to do it.
Yeah.
I will go do something else, something non-work related. I'll take a bath. I'll watch TikTok for 15 minutes because I need to remove myself from that. Forcing yourself to do something that for whatever reason you are feeling pushback, resistance, stop. Take it off your table for now. And my art was like that. I was killing myself about not doing it for over a year. And then finally I was like, I don't know why. I love art. I'm passionate about it. I don't know why I'm feeling the resistance, but it's not for me right now. So I'm going to focus on the things that I am naturally running towards. And then guess what? All of a sudden, I figured out when it was time for me and I dove in and loved doing it again. But I had to let it go. And it wasn't a failure. It was, you also are somebody with such dynamic interests and passions and goals. And you do amazing things. People don't even know half the things that you do and are involved in and care about, right? So the fact is, those things must be more important right now for you. That's important. It's not a failure. It's just not for right now, for whatever the reason is. And you're the one determining that, no other factors. And not because you're failing, because you're succeeding, because you're going to optimize what's working for you. And then it'll come back when it's ready. The opportunity will come up. The passion will come up. That has been my experience.
I really needed to hear that. Let's talk about the can you combo. Can you?
Okay. Remind me.
We talked a little bit about like, you don't even know what your limit is.
Yeah. So
many of us sort of decide what we can or cannot do without even really.
Oh, you're talking about there are those that can and those that can't.
Correct.
Mentality. Oh,
yes.
Okay, this is one of my favorite topics, and
that's why it's on the note card.
It ties into everything I've spoken about, everything I believe in. Many of us, I'm going to make this assumption and generalization, have different factors from our childhood. It can be parents, it can be social, it can be religious, it can be school, where we received messaging or we translated something to mean a certain message, right? Yep. I'm not always going to put the blame out there. Sometimes we twisted it and we were stuck with that impression.
Right.
That in life, in a myriad of areas, there are those that can and those that can't. There are those that can marry a certain type of person and those that can't. Right. There are those that can do a certain type of career and those that can't. Those that can run a certain type of room and those that can't. Those can cook. I can go on, right? And we grow up into adults, raising micro adults, still with that mentality, and most of us don't know it. Most of us don't know that we have this mentality of like, well, there are those people that do those things. There are those people that are successful in this way. There are those people that are good with money and those that are not. There are those that start businesses and those that don't. There are those that go to Ivy League colleges and those that don't. There's those that, learn how to live a minimal life and travel the world and have experiences. And then there are those that don't. And very often we decide, because of this messaging, that we are in those that don't camp. And so we don't. When you start to recognize that pattern in life, there are those that wear hats at parties and those who don't. There are those that wear stilettos.
By the way, I decided that I was someone who couldn't. I was someone who decided that there are those that like dress super, super cool, and that is never, and I don't. I decided that so early on.
But you've broken it, or you're breaking it constantly.
I try to.
Right. So it's about that. It's all the little things.
Yeah.
I mean, that can be such stupid things. I've heard either myself or other people say, like some people can pull off the black nail polish. I can't. I'm like, where do we come up with these things, right? Once you get that pattern, the freedom that it comes with. I mean, you can do anything. You can be anything. There is no such thing. It all boils back down to, did you ask for it? Did you want it? Did you try for it? Because you're right. If you don't do those things, then you can't. But not because there are those that can and those that can't of that area, but because you didn't. That's the only reason. And by the way, there are so many epically inspiring people. Look at people out there missing limbs that are doing things that you put yourself in the camp of, I can't.
So
Gymnastics, that I can't. I'm not flexible like that. He doesn't have legs.
Right.
Like, what are you saying?
Totally.
But that doesn't mean we have to do everything. But know why you're not doing them.
God. What about the people who feel they can't because intense trauma? Life really did deal them a hard card. Life feels unmanageable.
I mean, that's potentially unpacking so many things. When it comes to mental health, for example, I, more than anybody, would very carefully tread on that answer, because getting out of a trapped mental health state is nothing small and nothing easy. Anybody who hasn't gone through it, I went through an extremely dark period that this one I'm in a way actually really grateful I did, because I can with confidence say, unless you have been to really dark places in terms of mental health, you don't have a clue what it's like to be able to get out of that. So if somebody is struggling with mental health issues of any kind, you can't right now. And that doesn't mean that you're in the camp of you can and you can't, and because of the mental health. I think it's about, and I'll bring that into trauma also, which they kind of overlap. That goes into the micro wins and the micro visions, right? So until you start, it applies everywhere, even not mental health, but until you start becoming a person who can with micro wins, you can't do those big things because you haven't built yourself there yet, right? It's not about a degree or experience. It's, are you somebody showing yourself that you will and can succeed? So if you're coming from a really dark place or starting really at the bottom for whatever reason, if you brushed your teeth today, you're on that path. Every tiny thing that you do for yourself and your self-worth and getting closer to the kind of person that you want to be will get you there. That's the only way, in my experience, to climb out of trauma, to climb out of dark spaces, and to climb out of this place of lacking privilege, experience, tools. It's all in the micro things you do. Every tiny thing needs to be looked at as a win, and that is your objective for each day. I still apply that to my days, like when I'm having an overwhelmed day or a day with like losses. So how can I give myself a win today? And that'll be loading the dishwasher.
A W.
Seriously, that's the only way. That keeps you in a certain mental state, that keeps you in a manifesting energy, that keeps your self-worth up. That's the only way to operate, in my opinion, in anything.
What do you, oh, really quick, I want to talk about your gratitude chat.
Okay, speaking of micro wins.
Speaking of micro wins, you started a gratitude chat. Why
Yeah.
and what's entailed? How do people get in the gratitude chat?
Okay, so the why was I'm a really strong believer in energy. Things have not been easy for me, and my life circumstances, I'm incredibly blessed. And a lot of my life circumstances over the years have been really, really difficult for me for so many reasons. And I was not always happy. When you and I first connected, I was heavy, heavy energy. I was not happy. I felt trapped in so many areas of my life. And you know, speaking of mental health, I wasn't sure how to climb out of it. And like people wouldn't have realized when we connected, I had the best year in my business, right? I was making more money than I had ever made. I wasn't happy. I was stressed. I was trapped. I wasn't liking who I was and so many things. And I decided to try and focus on gratitude because I think that we do have control of the reins of our life. And sometimes it's just about focus. And I had
like a reframe.
Yes. And I had, and I believe energy is like a domino effect. So I had this friend I had a conversation with, and I was like, let's partner up and do like daily gratitude. We'll say 3 things a day we're grateful for. Love her to pieces. She never showed up. She has her own things going on. And I was just like, oh man, like I can't do this by myself. You know, like I'm not going to hold myself accountable. I need the momentum. So I just posted, I think on Instagram or something like, hey, I'd like to start a daily gratitude thing. Anybody want to join? And like a few people joined. Now it's still a small group. You know, we gain a bunch, lose a few. I'm pretty strict that it has to be pretty much daily because it impacts the group. And I cannot tell you, first of all, the impact I'm like going to get emotional. The impact that it's had for me personally, all I do is text the chat 3 things I'm grateful for each day. But it just reframes your brain, and you learn to realize that like that time where you tripped and came this close to stubbing your toe and didn't, and being the type of person who looks at that as like, oh my, I'm really grateful for that. The little things, your entire energy shifts, and energy is contagious. The more elated your energy is, the more contagious it is, the more people want to be around you, the more yeses, the more opportunities. You're floating now. It's just different. And I might sound like I'm making it dramatic. I'm not. I've had other people come to me from the chat telling me, and I swear, like this is not my thing. I didn't invent gratitude, okay? Coming to me and saying, this chat has changed my life in 2 months. And like, I did this, I was in this place, I did, and I 100% give it to the chat. And I'm like, oh my God, I did it for me. I did it because I needed community. I needed accountability. Multiple people coming to me with this. People who are struggling with addiction. People who are struggling with, you know, terrible divorces or health issues, or just going through life regular and the regular bumps and are just not
like
so
being
happy.
alive in 2024. Hello.
Literally. So I'm more than happy if anybody wants to join and send the link. You know, there's no conversation. We're not about notifications all day long. There's real integrity here, and it's amazing. It's just been a game changer.
I will put that link also in the show notes. Mm-hmm. Let's end with, in an ever-changing, uncertain, scary, rapidly shifting world, what do you do to stay grounded? What do you do? What are your best practices to just...
Baths. I take baths. I take baths. A short bath for me is 3 hours.
Oh my God.
I literally, and I will do it any time of day. Like anytime I need to just like...
Epsom salt, or what do you put?
Sometimes, you know, whatever. Okay. And it's not always like a spa-like thing. I will do my groceries from the bath. I will answer TikTok comments or post things on TikTok. I will answer emails. I will design things. I will review, you know, software reports. I will order Hanukkah presents. I will do things. You know, I will shamelessly FaceTime my sister. You know, but. And then for everybody who wants to know, don't you get all pruny? There's a hack to it. Like my hands and legs are out.
Okay,
you know,
yeah,
and when I get too hot,
I was going to say the prunes.
I have a little phone stand so that I'm not hurting my hands if I'm watching something or listening to a podcast or whatever. That is one of my main things. What else do I do to stay grounded?
Gratitude.
5 to 10 minutes of weightlifting a day if I can, jumping jacks. Making dinner for my daughter, like just focusing on the little things. The little wins make me happy.
I don't care if anyone listens to this because I heard everything I needed to hear today. That was I really appreciated like everything you just said. I really needed to hear that.
Well, I have to say, I am incredibly grateful for this friendship because um, it's really important. You absolutely have been somebody who has propelled me, guided me, even when you didn't know you were doing it. And I mean, you're just such a powerful woman, powerful person with such a big heart. You give back so much. People don't know. I, I don't know if I can talk about this, but we had a video chat once, oh, like last year, and talking about your why, and you were crying and um, talking about how passionate you were in wanting to unlock the potential of the female followers that you had in their life circumstances and what unlocking meant for them to bring them to their full potential and find beauty in their lives and in being women. And I mean, you're such an inspiration for me. So I'm so grateful. It's been such an honor to be on here. It's been fun, hanging with a friend and just being inspired.
Well, that's the why is why we do these conversations. So thank you so much for being here, and I love
Thanks
it.
for having me. I love you too.